Okay. Sorry about the lateness of the start. There we go. Had a little bit of a connection issue. It took a while to connect. I don't know why. Apologies about that. Okay. There's a little bit more of a delay than there usually is, so bear with me. You're seeing more of my studio too. So we'll get started in just a second. I need to see what the delay is. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Kyle Gentry. This is session 5 of my Camp Zombie show Bible design pitch series. So I'm designing characters and props and backgrounds and such for a fictitious show I came up with called Camp Zombie. So we're going to continue with that. So if there's any issues with video or something like that, please feel free to tell me in the chat. I got a new computer, so I'm having to reset a bunch of stuff, and I'm learning some new things, so please be patient with me. But as a little bit of a recap, so in the first session, I designed some of the main characters. You've got the main character, the zombie right here. His name is Mr. Lurkin. And you've got his best friend Venny. Mr. Lurkin is the camp zombie. He works as the camp cook, and Venny knows he's a zombie. He doesn't eat brains, he eats dessert, because he became a zombie by getting terminal brain freeze off of 6-year-old stale or past its date ice cream. This is one of Venny's friends, Donna, and one of the kind of not maniacal, but slightly mean camp counselors, Terry Ann. The head counselor is Edsel, and this gent right here is the head of the camp. This is the guy that runs the camp. And these are all going to go under redesigns and such and things like that as we go, of course. Week 2, we looked at the airboat. This was the camp bus, if you will, the camp school bus. So it's set in the Everglades in Florida. That's where this camp is. And this is, well, of course, what they would drive. So this is just this kind of fun, incredibly powerful school bus. So we're gonna go from there, and then from there we went to designing a few more of the friends, a few side characters. This little girl is an exchange camper from Australia. Not scared of anything. She handles animals like Champ, alligators and whatnot. We're going to come to that today. So, and this little dude here is the expert, the comic book expert on all things zombie and all things dark. So he's the guy that is friends with Vinny that's always constantly learning more about zombies. And this gent right here with the steering wheel is the airboat driver. He's the camp bus driver. So he's going to be figured prominently as like an ex-NASCAR kind of guy, and he drives these boats incredibly fast and dangerously, and that's kind of his shtick. So his hair is always kind of pointed back in a direction to show speed. So we're going to do that. So tonight, I'm going to focus on some of the animals that we might see in this. So it is set in the Everglades, so I'm thinking maybe the airboat driver has a pet alligator. That the girl from Australia is not afraid of. The alligator terrifies all the other kids except for her, and we're gonna have fun designing him. And maybe one of her pets she brought with her. We're gonna have some fun with some of the wildlife for the show. So we'll get started. So as I said before, I'm keeping everything within the same design family. So you've got Vinny down here is kind of this little egg shape, and I'm keeping that same kind of wide leg. Oblong shape for all the characters and stuff, and the difficulty with designing animals is how do you fit them within that mold? How does that work? It's a trick, but it's going to be fun. So, we'll start off, and like I said, I'm getting used to the new computer, so sometimes I'll have to redraw lines a little bit because the tablet is. The sensitivities on the tablet are a little different than they were before. So if you're getting a new Mac, like I just did, and you have a Cintiq, you're going to have a little bit of calibration to do, and I'm still working through some of the calibration, so just bear with me. So I'm thinking we're going to start off with maybe I'm working on like just silhouettes, just rough shapes. I'm going to start off a little smaller than that. There we go. We're going to do some shapes. And I'll take these guys away. I just got him in there. I keep Vinny as reference because he's the main reference. And I did look at some alligator for reference, all week as I'm thinking about what I have to do here. And if you're new to this, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, also welcome. So we're just going for rough shapes to see what I like. I played a little bit with possible shapes for this dude throughout the week. I don't want him to look too dragon-like, so I looked at mouth shapes and things like that for alligators, and they have kind of this curve, and so that's about as far as I go with just defining a shape for that. We'll get more detailed as we go, as always. If you're new, I generally run from an hour to an hour and a half on these. I try to respect your time and keep them somewhat short out and just keep going forever. And it might be a combination of shapes that I try from different, Maybe he's got an underbite. I do like the idea of this big hump kind of shape because it's not one that you associate with an alligator, but I like playing with shapes of things that aren't usual, if you will. Like I said, I'm just playing rough scribbly shapes, seeing where it goes. Because he's got such a big, like Vinny down here in the corner has such a small, diminutive shape that's like an egg, things like that. So I'm trying to keep from getting too detailed with this alligator. Go with more of a round and see what we come up with. Maybe give him a short little snout. Maybe make him younger. not going too detailed with the face. I'm just indicating eyes and things like that here. So roughly, you'd see just like the buildings, which we'll get to in one of the future episodes of this camp, is everything is on stilts above a swamp, and maybe this dude lives in the waters below the garage where the airboat's kept or something like that, and all you'd see at the top are maybe his eyes and this hump like up here above the water. So super scribbly, just indicating things for myself. Super low, like, he just kind of glides when he's in the water like an alligator should, even though he's got this hump. It's a little more alligator-like right there. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Kind of like that, too. I might explore a couple of these. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going off of these 4, and the art director in me is going, okay, we need to start... I'm time-lapsing things down, of course, because this would be a long process for selection, but for the sake of tonight, I'm going to focus on just these 2 right now. And for those that are new, I am using a program called Clip Studio Paint. It is quickly becoming one of the premier softwares to use for a lot of different art types, or art professions, character design. It's got some animation elements to it, which are kind of fun, which I don't play with because I'm not an animator. I do characters for animation. There's a big difference. So take that down and add a new layer on top, and then we'll start playing a little bit more. With his shape. And I'm using a rough pencil that actually I had to import from my old copy of Clip Studio when I changed my computer over, because they changed the tool type and I didn't like the new one, so I brought this one over. Strengthening those shapes. Gamepad over here that I have quick keys, give them some wrinkles, that I have quick keys kind of tagged to, so my undo buttons and things like that are all kind of tagged. Keep going until I find a line that I like. There we go, that's better. Keep my lines. Need to keep my lines. And I'll probably do another layer on top of this as I tighten. Because like I said, the program feels a little different than it used to now that I'm... Yeah, that's good. So I've got kind of this open eye design like I do down here with Venny. Density up just a bit. There we go. Was losing. And alligators, their mouth goes way back behind their eyes, so I'm gonna really play with the exaggeration on that. It gives them a lot more of an alligator feeling instead of like a dragon or something like that, because I don't want it to be too fantasy oriented. I want it to be a cartoony animal that does exist. I wanted to give the mouth, the options. So like if you see it open up, you want it to like almost hear it clomp shut in your head. um, like that's what you're going for. And if I skew too far away from the given style of the show that I've created or that I'm creating, I'll go back and revise. Because I tend to, alligators can be very detailed, and I tend to get overly detailed too quickly. That's my weakness. Every artist should know their weakness. And I know mine. That's one of mine anyway. I tend to focus so much on detail that I lose other things too quickly, and I gotta forcibly keep my mind about the overall picture. Let's get those lines in that we all know alligators have on their backs, that have those kind of spines and a little bit of spikes. Just kind of lay them in there. There we go. Good. But I like this shape. I like this kind of almost fedora hat looking top shape. So we'll play with that. And yes, alligators don't have these big nostrils, but it's a classic cartoon, so I like that look. It gives them more of a dog pet appearance. That's why a lot of them were drawn that way classically. Yeah, I'm really liking this guy. He's coming along nicely. We'll give another variation on him. I always enjoy doing animals. I always did. So one of the tools I've got on here, and I've spoken about it before, if you look over right here, you've got the black and the white, and below you've got a little box of transparency. That little transparency box can turn any brush into an eraser. And right now I'm using my pencil as an eraser, the actual lead right there. And I've got buttons on my pen that quick key to it, so it takes care of some of my lines for me. There we go. Just throwing in lines now, nothing. Just to kind of indicate scales. I'll tighten it up as we go. I want to give him kind of a boxy end to his tail. Keep it kind of fun. And I'm adhering to a classic alligator with the length, if you will, and I can, to keep him in line with the other characters, I might shorten that and play with this same design, but play with that a bit. But you know, like say, you know, the art director on a show would, or the director that I've got that's helping me pitch the show, or that has hired me to create these characters to pitch for him. You know, he's given me this directive. You know, big, a short body but tall, fat alligator. You know, so you can see him up out of the water. You know, he's got a lot of personality when it comes to his size. And I want to make, you know, imposing maybe, and then maybe I'll completely flip the reverse on that, make him super tiny but super dangerous. You know, so this area right here around his head is working really good, so I don't want to overdo that right now. I don't want to over design that because I want to keep it scribbly, very, very scribbly. And then we're going to come down here and work on this shape a bit. Get some more hot tea. Let's see where this goes. this is more of a traditional, a little bit more of a traditional low to the ground. You know, maybe I didn't want to push it quite as hard. Just making sure that some of the design elements work. Yeah, I think the design works pretty well. There might be a little bit too much detail in some places, but I think it's going pretty good. We're just going to go in a different direction with this one. Now, if I do the underbite, you know, as I look at the design element of it, if I do the underbite, it won't look like an alligator anymore. Not with the way I have the body. Might be something I'll explore. If I have to further the design. There's something about the jawline and the way the neck works together, these big bulky necks work together, that communicates alligator to me. As I looked at some of the reference that I was studying, just this kind of flat, kind of double chin thing going on underneath tends to work really well for it. I need to get that more centered. There we go. Okay. Decided to start erasing on its own there for a minute. Like I said, new system, new bugs. Getting used to the way the pen feels and whatnot. I want him to be smiling. I don't want him to be too mean, like he's about to have a really delightful meal out of someone. You know, I don't want him to look evil, and he looks devilish and scheming right now, which is fine. This is also the first time I've got my dog in here with me. Usually they're causing a ruckus outside, and we're trying to keep him quiet for the live stream, but I figured I'd try a little experiment, put him in his bed, and he's actually chilled out, which is kind of nice. He's a beagle. He's a mixed beagle, and he's got a voice on him to beat all. I don't like that too much of a curve. Alligators have more of a flat head, so we're gonna. There we go. The only difference between this one and the one above it, I think I'm dangerously getting close into caiman territory, which is a different kind of alligator-like lizard altogether. And that's fine. Maybe, you know, maybe it could be a story change or something like that, you know. That kind of thing happens all the time, where they'll see design and they're like, ooh, that could take it in a different direction we didn't think of before, and that's cool. Maybe he's a caiman. Maybe he was brought over by one of the kids, or by, you know, the airboat driver or something like that. Caiman aren't as big either. They're quite small, but very fast and very dangerous. From Africa, I believe, or Southeast Asia. Let's see what it's looking like. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay. So I don't have a name for him yet. I'm still thinking about what I want the name to be. See how He's got enough bulk to be an alligator instead of a caiman. It works. Let me see how we are, where we're at. Style-wise, I think the top one works better than the bottom, but I'm not gonna completely get rid of the bottom one. I'll put him on a different layer and make him disappear because I like his design. I might use him for something else. All right, so we're gonna keep this guy around, and then we're gonna start playing with variations on him. Create a new layer, take the opacity down just a little bit. And for those that are new, there's a chat section there, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll answer them as best I can. And I'll give you a little bit of background information on me. I've been a professional character designer and illustrator since art college in 1997 when I graduated. I've done children's books, I've done production work for show pitches, I've done all kinds of character work. Caricatures, I worked at Disney World for a while when I was in college doing caricatures and portraits in the parks. I live in Orlando, so I go there all the time. Let's try and make a baby version of this guy, maybe bring him down just a little bit. So keep kind of the same head. And let me copy and paste it just so I can see what I'm dealing with. I'm gonna keep the same kind of head design. Draw over it and start exaggerating some of the features, to play with it. But like I said, I've been doing professional freelance work for 24 years now, and everything from the medical industry to advertising to novel chapter illustration, cover illustration, children's book illustration. And lately I've just been focused on my own projects. I do, oh, that's a good idea. Let's bring that in a little tighter. How about that? Oh yeah, there we go, okay. Copying and pasting and playing around like that actually helps with the drawing. It really can. You can really kind of see things in a different way. Let me look down at Venny again. I want to see his eyes. All right, they're separated out on me. Wrong layer. New. So I have a wide range of experience in different areas. But my dream has always been character design for animation. That's always been my dream. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an animator, and then I fell in love with the illustration aspect of it more, a lot more. I do series of illustration. I've got several series that I go to Comic-Cons and things like that with. I love doing cons. In my area, I don't travel too far. I'm from Memphis, so I'll do one there once a year when COVID isn't happening and the cons are actually back. So yeah, I'm liking this. All right. And then I was a traditional painter. I worked in watercolor and pen and ink up until my first children's book. And I did that in 2007. That was my first big break into children's books. It was a book called Grandpa for sale for a publisher called Flashlight Press. Really great publisher. It's a smaller publisher. And they do these really wonderful, heartwarming books, and it was a really fun book to work on. And that was my first big break, and I thought I was going to be, this is it. I'll be a children's book illustrator, and there's very little money in it. Other than the joy you take with what you do, you have to have a serious commitment to author visits and things like that. And I do school visits for this kind of work, but So I'll do demos and things like that. So if there's, oh yeah, this is going really nice. The other guy is like his big daddy, and this is Junior. Almost. I need to make his eyes a little bit bigger. Actually, he's got pupils, and that's one thing I haven't been showing in a lot of the stuff is they've got irises and pupils. So some cartoons don't do that; just put the black dots. Make his teeth a little bit bigger to denote youth instead of thin. There we go. Yeah. If you notice with the characters, like they've got these wide spread apart legs and stuff like that. I tend to focus on that a lot with this. Like that's the show language that I'm trying to portray. So I'm trying to give the same kind of feel from left to right with the animals, but from front to back I can get the legs, you know, as close as I want. And it's more comical that way anyway. Like these are super bunched in and he's got a little tail. That's getting confusing. All right, let's go back. Let's backtrack on that a little bit. It's starting to get a little confusing. Because there is a normal bend in the leg, just like all animals have, but in an alligator, the anatomy is a little different. I try to pay attention to that, so. I don't want to adhere too closely to it. Yeah, it's not, still not right. Let me bring that down. I don't want to take it so far that it loses its comic quality. Ah, there we go. I'll just tuck it underneath. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So yeah, this guy's a little bit more of a bumbling kind of a look to him, which is fine. He's dangerous, but, you know, he's not really dangerous. Like, everybody's seen those characters in cartoons where they're sort of dangerous, but, you know, kind of like Iago in Aladdin, the bird. He's a villain, but he's not, you know, super hyper dangerous. There we go. Looking for this shape here and this shape here. I want it to all be kind of, you know, I look at those basic shapes first always, as I've said so many times in my other videos. And I do urge you to go back and look and watch how I design some of the other stuff for this show. It will lend better understandings for the direction I'm trying to take with what I'm doing. And this is all just demo work. The show doesn't exist. The idea of it does. Obviously, I'm creating it. That's why there's a copyright there, because it might turn into something. You never know. Besides, how cool would it be to have an alligator for a pet? I mean, seriously. One like this, anyway, not a real one. Yes, much, much better. All right. All right, so we've gone from... Let me get rid of these now, this guy now. We've gone from this guy and this guy, which both solid designs, honestly, for the purpose of them, to this little chubby dude. This little bitty chubby dude, and I think he fits better in the show. And this isn't a one-to-one with Venny. Venny, realistically, let me bring the other one back so I can show you. I'll do a size comparison real quick with the new one. Venny would actually be about this size. That's how big this dude is. Like he could swallow him up. You know, that's how big I want him. So we're going to make him disappear, we're going to make him disappear, and we're going to focus on this, like the third iteration. And I'm going to start tightening it up a little bit and add some shade. Bring the opacity down a bit. I'll use a darker pencil, my old darker pencil, the one that another tool that they changed in Clip Studio Paint that I wasn't happy with the new version of. Apologies, let me get a drink of tea. New layer. Still too thick. I'm still playing with how sensitive I want my pen to. That's the other issue that I'm having right now. Is I actually downloaded the driver a second time today and deleted the old driver and reinstalled it to see if I could get some of the default settings back where I wanted them, and it worked a little bit. I don't want to lose too much of the sketchy quality of a lot of this stuff. There we go. Okay, yeah, I want him to look like he's all scrunched up. Excellent. I'll put the specular light in his eye in a second. I like to do that. It adds a lot more. It adds a lot of character to the actual character. Like a lot more personality. That little dealy job right there. It's also a good way to make him look like he has no soul or he's super evil, as if I didn't do that and all the other characters had it to make his eyes look super black. And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the right line. I am a perfectionist when it comes to my lines. I'm a sketcher, so I want my sketchy lines to look the right kind of sketchy, if that makes sense. Yes. Excellent, excellent. And I'm taking and exaggerating some of the shapes that I see there. I'm pushing some of the shapes harder than I did in the original sketch. So. And the other thing this pen does really well is it breathes. Like, it has a really good sensitivity with my hand. So the harder I press, the thicker the line gets, and that's how tablets should work. And some tablets work better than others. I don't trust a tablet that isn't a Wacom. They've been doing it for years. I don't trust those Surface stuff that are PCs at all. Some artists love them. I do not like the feel of them. I also don't draw in Photoshop. A lot of artists do that and look at me weird when I don't. I just don't. I'd rather use this program because the brushes and the pencils and the pens and feel more natural. The other program I use a lot, I got to get a new version for this computer, is Corel Painter, because it emulates real media. And it is a heavy program. It is a heavy, heavy program. It takes up lots of memory. So be prepared for that one. Alligators have kind of these really flat forearms, or forelegs, if you will. Not flat enough. Bit of a divot. Okay, that eraser's way too big. There we go. I do have the regular eraser set for the end of my pen. It's going really well. The ink lines on this guy are really good. Don't want to get too tight. Keep it a little more loose than I've been keeping it. Throw some extra lines in there. You know, because I want to keep it more like Venny right here. That's part of the reason why I pasted him over there, so I could use him as a direct reference. I didn't have to keep pulling back from the canvas. Follow these spine lines, I guess you'd call them. These kind of sharp spines. Don't want to make the hump too big. The other two, like if you lose the alligator face, then you also start to make him look like a Stegosaurus or something like that. You know, something dinosaur-like, and I don't want that either. They are descendants of dinosaurs and whatnot, but that's not the look I'm going for. Let's go ahead. I'm going to put another row right there. So. Excellent. Darken his eye just a little bit right there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. You know, and I like the idea that maybe this thing has like some kind of proper name that's like Francis or something like that, but the kids have a nickname for him, you know. Just all part of the gags and how far you can push those gags. Just an indication that the tail curls around. It's not super accurate, but it works. Yes, okay. Yeah, that works pretty good. I don't have to indicate so much of the back leg anatomy because right now I'm just trying to get the personality of the character through. Further development makes it easier for movement, things like that. That's where the orthographic studies, the turnarounds come into play. So the animators can see what they look like from the side, the back, the front, other side, top, angles, things like that. And then personality, gestural drawing, expressions, things like that, and then also movement, so they can see how they move when they run, when they're walking, how they stretch, how they squash, you know, all the basic animation stuff. And this is thousands of drawings, you know, like, so we're not going to go into all of that, but we're going to study it all so you understand what my thinking is while I'm doing it. Got it? All right, so let's throw a little, let's throw just a little bit of love to his shape. Yeah. The other thing I'm going to do is enlarge him a bit. And normally I don't do this because he pixelates, but for... I don't know why that does that. We're going to get rid of whatever ghost line is over here. There we go. size that he needs to be on canvas. Yeah, so if I look at him like with Venny, yep, that works. Okay, and we can get rid of this other Venny here. Because I don't need him anymore. Okay. So I got this brush set from another artist, who's one of the artists from the two artists that work Creature Box, so the guys that are character designers for video games and animation and things like that. Greg Baldwin and Dave Garten. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but Greg Baldwin does Lost Bear Studios, and he does it on Monday nights. I highly suggest you watch his live streams because they're wonderful, they're beautiful, and I suggest you give those a look because they're worthwhile. But he gives away brushes every now and again, and I really love the fact that he does this because it allows you to play with how he does things. And we're going to give this guy just a little bit of color when I'm doing this. And that's too vivid. Let's dull that down a little bit, because this, when I do the color studies for this series, when I'm coming up with a color palette for this series, it's going to be muted, highly muted. So he gave away these newsprint brushes, and they actually look like they have a newsprint texture when you look really close. I'll zoom in a minute and show you. And they darken over itself, so as you fill in color, it gets darker the more you go over the same area over and over by your stroke. That's why I'm not lifting my pen from the screen at the moment, because I'm not ready. I'm going to use the same brush and the same color without having to change anything to darken some areas. I am going to get rid of the color around the eyes because I want those to stand out, of course. Alright, so see, this is I haven't changed anything. This is just the same brush and the settings, the opacity settings and the stroke settings on it. You know, I'm able to put the shadows and whatnot in. Block that back just a little bit, it's a little too much. There we go. I want the brush to be smaller, I want more control. As I'm just working rough shadows, very, very rough shadows. When I was in my illustration courses in college, I went to the Ringling School of Art and Design, which is now called the Ringling College of Art and Design. We would study illustration work, and we'd do little thumbnail Xerox copies of them and use grayscale markers and lay in the light and shadow and learn how to do that before we even talked about color. And I'm doing kind of both at the same time here. I'm using the color to lay in the lights and the shadows, and this is just me goofing with the color. But I'm able to add in texture, like the lines and things like that, and I don't have to do it with the black line if I don't want to. You know, and I am thinking about how this will translate to actual animation. Like, you know, this is just for the pitch book, though. So the pitch book, the pitch Bible, if you will, is what's used to throw what the series could look like in front of producers and stuff to actually sell the show to get it made. And that's what this whole live stream is about, how to do that. Get rid of some of the lines right here. I want his eyes to stick out a little bit more than, I don't want the sketch to come through too much right there. Yes, there we go, okay. Now I'll play a little bit more with the color and bring in some darks and really start laying some of this stuff in. You know, and I'm giving a base indication of where the light source is. You know, it's you know, up here somewhere. I'm not thinking hard about that, just enough to indicate depth, just enough. If I was doing a full rendering of this, if you want to see my website, you can see my full illustration work, and there's a lot of it there, www.tkylegentry.com. Go there and you can see what my full illustrations look like, and I paint in several different styles. For instance, my Monty, the Unfortunate Octopus series, which is a comedy series, and it's interactive. You can change the order on the wall. It's very sketchy and very loose, but if you go to my Macabre McMorbidly family portrait series, it's kind of these Haunted Mansion-esque family portraits that are funny, and they all have backstories, but those are really super tight and detailed, and I love being able to do both. I never want to be boxed in. That's no fun. I don't want anybody to think they know they can define me. One thing I will do is I'll put a little bit of a shadow underneath him, and I'll go with a brown for that, just a general brown. Not too far out. There we go. Oh, still, I don't want to lose the indication of the snout. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna bring down the opacity of that a little bit because I don't want it to overwhelm it. I don't like those back ones. Let's just do that. There we go. Okay, now I'm bringing the opacity down just a touch. All right. Use my color picker, see what it looks like when I do that. I use transparent watercolor a lot too, but for this I'm just going to focus on newsprint. So now I've got the color, and I've used the color for the highlight and shade, for the rough highlight and shade. Now I'm going to put in a tiny bit of detail work, maybe with some spots. And I've given it a bit of a warmer tone. You know, I don't want to do it too much, but I want to have fun with it. The way these spots can go is they actually add to the idea of scales, even though, you know, it's not scales. It makes it look scaly. It's this weird trick. And one thing I haven't done to him, but I might, is still add like a dog collar and a tag so that you can tell he's somebody's pet. That would be super cute. We'll figure that out in a second. Because one thing I want to do, I want to go back in and play with the secondary color. Like, you know, there's always, in these cartoons, there's always like a belly color they add. And I love the way the newsprint brushes work. Oh, I was going to take you in and show you the close-up. So as you can see, there's kind of a texture to this, like a paper-esque texture. That's the newsprint texture. I can go in super close because, oh, a little too close, but you can really see it. Yeah, like that. You can see kind of that papery texture. That's what the brush does, and I can see it better on my screen than you can probably on yours. But it's really fun to use, and I would never have been able to create these brushes myself. He's got a shop on Gumroad, and these brushes are free. And if you have Clip Studio Paint and you want to use them, go to Gumroad and type in Lost Bear Studios, and you'll be able to find them. His brush pack. He gives away other things. He's got stuff for sale on there too, which I highly recommend you check out. His artwork is phenomenal. So, color do I want to make his eyes? Let's maybe make a. Let me try an orangish red, because red being the complement of green can really make his eyes stand out. But I don't want to go bright with them. Maybe that's too muted. Maybe we want a little bit brighter than that. Let's see we go. Ah, yeah, here we go. Okay. That works. And then I'll put a little bit of shade in his eyes. That's way too aqua. I don't want that. Because nobody's eyes are white. That's the mistake people make with things like that. Nobody's eyes are white. They're liquidy. They've got, you know, a shine to them. They've got, you know. And I will do this with the other characters when I'm doing further studies on them, but this guy just begged to have more put on him right now. And you'll hear my other dog in the background. Apologies for that. And I'll use a blender. I have this Blur by Fiverr blender that's really nice. Another one that I had to port over from my old copy of Clip Studio Paint because they didn't add it to the new version. And they did that to a lot of brushes that I love. I love the program. I'll keep using the program, but dadgum if they didn't try and mess me up. Alright, now let me go back to my dark pencil, and I'm going to try and add in a dog collar and put like a little tag underneath them down here. I think that would be really cool. I'll do it on another layer, and that way if I don't like it I can, because that's going to be a big dog collar. Maybe it's this whole line of stuff right here. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work really well. And I'll go in below it and take care of those dark lines. Get rid of these. You know, it's these little things that you do along the way that really make a character stand out. And you can really, I mean, you look for ways to embellish a character when you're designing them. You get a set of parameters by whoever's giving you the job, and you look for ways that you can add to that in such a way that it's still the character, but you're putting your stamp on it, and it makes the character more fleshed out. And more often than not, the directors who are giving you these assignments want that. They want you to have fun with it and give more life than what they can envision with it. Okay. Yeah, he's got to have some kind of studs on there. He's a big boy. I tend to be a little bit of a stickler for making sure things work together logically. There we go. So let me... Okay. Now we're going to give him a blue collar. I think that'll work real well on him. Yeah. There we go. Just put it down here. All right. I like the idea of a blue on him. That'll work really good. Yeah, and there's 3 or 4 different, or 2 or 3 different newsprint brushes that he has in this set. Give him a little bit of a... yeah, let's make him... Nah, they need to stand out. Let's maybe make him shiny and more brassy. I'm gonna make his tag gold to really kick it out. I'm gonna keep it. Ooh, okay, that pen's way too big. And one really cool thing you can do to make something look really shiny is to put a little standout on it, and I'm gonna add a little shadow there too. Ooh, too dark, way too dark. Same color. There we go. And that's something like this. I wonder if do I have the star? I have a star pen that I really like to use. And it may not be in here yet. I may not have loaded it in yet. I can do it by hand. That's okay. So the way this will work, let's see if I can find the right tools. Find the airbrush. Nice soft airbrush. And it needs to be above everything else. It needs to be the top thing you see because it's the brightest thing there. So it'll be right here. And the wrong color picked. still have the wrong color pick. Well, it's not bad. You can start off with a lighter color, but there we go. Okay. You just want to give a couple of lines of airbrushing, and then you're going to add a hard shine to it with a pen. If you did just the pen, it wouldn't look right. Like right there, it just didn't look right. I need to come back here a little bit and add a little bit more here. And you know what? As good as that looks there, tell it where it needs to be. Ooh. Huh. I think I made a mistake. I did. I added it to the ink. Let's take that all the way back. I undid a layer by accident, so let's do that again. Except this time I'm going to put it in the right place. I'm going to put it down here with his dog tags. Make it a little bit better. Because you always have that shine on something that's like super shiny. And I can erase a little here and there where I think it's gone too far. Yeah. Add a little bit back in. It's a back and forth method. Taking some of the harshness away from some of the lines. Like I said, it's just a little thing, and then we're going to pick a kind of a bone kind of color. That's flesh tone, but we're going to augment that just a little. Make it kind of a bone color here for his teeth. Okay, let's go back to the newsprint tool. Pick the right newsprint tool. There we go. Nope, still, there it is. Okay. The dark newsprint. Wrong layer. Again. Now I'm going to lighten this as we go. And I'm going to erase some of those underlying pencil lines because they're making the teeth dark and I want them to stand out. I just need to lay the color in so I know what I'm looking at. Okay, let me get rid of some of those lines. Okay, now this is where it gets a little fun. So I'll go back to my pencil because I want it to be rough. And let's see, I'll use their rough pencil because it's a little rougher than mine. And this is just going to be not light enough. There we go. You won't be able to see this until I add more of the darks in. That's always a weird thing about contrast and shadows and things like that. If you want someone to look really like they're standing in shadows, you really don't have any grayscale or midtones. You have all white and all black. And that's how Frank Miller worked a lot with his Sin City comic books. And other such things. There's a lot of comics that are like that with Batman. But now you can see the highlights a lot more because you've got more contrast. And I'll go back in with white. Again, it's a back and forth kind of a thing. And I'll put a little bit of an outline so it'll help pop the teeth out a little bit. And this is all adding to the character. This is all part of the same process of developing this character to show him off. Too much. You know, to really make him stand out. Like, you know, each character needs to stand out in their own way. And I am going to be focusing on the zombie quite soon again, because as good as his design is, he's going to be the hardest to sell. The whole show's about him. So I have to really make sure his design works really, really well. That's the idea. You want to make sure it works well. Yes, I really like that. He is so much fun. Okay. Really like that. So let's go back to my dark newsprint, and then I'll start laying in shadows for that was the wrong pen. That was the soothing watercolor pen, and that's not what I'm looking for here. He is not soothing. Like I said, I don't mind going outside of the lines. Lends itself to this style. We do need to add some kind of something up here. Let me drop that down. Actually, no, let me not do that. All right, but I will do it on the same layer. That's the shine layer, so that makes sense. All right. White. Just over the black line to show that it's so bright that it's even covering up its own lines. Add a little bit more to his. Any really bright highlight you can do on the same layer, like above everything else. That's where the brightest brights are. Whenever I do a shine, if you go look at my McMorbidlys on my website, whenever you see a super bright shine, it's the topmost layer above everything else. And then on his body, we're going to add some shadowing behind his teeth to pop that out. So it can be in the same color family. I'm just selecting colors from him. I always try and do that. I'm also, popping this kind of pursing, like sunken in skin where his mouth meets together, because it needs to fold in towards the crease. I'm emphasizing some of the sketch lines with this. Just, oops. Yeah, that's that sensitivity on the pen that I'm getting used to. Especially these brushes, because they are super sensitive. Alrighty. So that doing shading like that on one side of the collar and the other shows a continuation from his skin and that kind of roughness from one side, and it helps sell the idea that the collar is covering him up. Okay. Yeah, he works quite well. So, whatever his name is, let me group his layers together so I don't lose what I've got. All right. Okay, that's the gator layer. The other ones are there. I haven't gotten rid of them. I do like this one too. There's some nice little thing. Maybe he's a cousin visiting from out of town. He looks more like a crocodile, honestly, than he does an alligator comparatively, because crocodiles are smoother and they have a little pointier snout. So maybe This is somebody that visits from Australia. You know, like the girl brings him over or something, and he feels disgruntled. Eyes are a little too similar, but I could play with that. I could make it female, which would be another fun thing, because this dude's definitely a male. He's right now, but honestly, playing with his gender would be really funny if I made him female, and that would be a good idea. So that would be something I could explore if you know, just a little bit of eyelashes here. I could make the collar pink. Not to throw a gender issue out there or say that pink is only for girls, but just make it more of a feminine color, but with the studs. You want to play with those things a bit. So yeah, he's looking good. Let me move him down here, and I just painted that just to, I remember I put that dot there just to show a little bit of a light source, so let me get rid of that. And I will move this dude out of the way and up here to the corner. And this dude, I still really like him. He was a great basis for this. He's like an adult version of this dude. Could be a brother, you know, it could be a family of alligators or something. That would be really funny, right? So I'm going to keep him because I really, really like him. And I'll just put him here on underneath the other one. Just keep them together. Alright, so usually what I do is I create some kind of, like I create a character lineup line when I'm looking at things like sizing. Make sure everything is kosher. Oops. Benny's a little small there, so let me take him up. I didn't mean to make him quite. That's about right. That's a good size. I like that. Now we're going to take Speedy over here and size him appropriately. It's a little bit bigger than that. All right. And there's some element over here, some artifact that is causing this to not scale at the right place. There we go. Okay, got rid of it. All right. So let me take and move everybody up and recenter my page. There we go. Alrighty. So this is the gator. I could also make him a lot bigger too. Like this is the starting point. This is the starting rough sketch. Like it's with the color and even with the lines and everything, the sketchy lines and whatnot, it's still rough. I might add in just a few more lines just to keep it in line with the way I want it to look. Little rough pencil and just kind of throw in some lines here and there, some thought lines here and there, because that's part of the thing. I mean, there's a certain look that I like, and that's this kind of sketchy, rough look. I got people that love that style of my work. They like all my work, you know, to a point, but there's certain aspects to the roughness that they look, that they look for and they like, this kind of sketchy. And I'm not ruining the drawing. I'm just add a little coolness to it, you know. I do need to add a little green to those spines because that's not intended to be spikes. There we go. They're just, if you look at an alligator, it's just rough skin. It's not like they have like actual spikes, you know. Yep. Go back to my line. Make sure there's a definite dividing line between legs here because I want them to look squished together. A little bit of the belly color down here and at the bottom of his toes. I didn't notice that before. Oops. covering up the black line. Always got to pay attention to my layers. Always, always, always. You know, just kind of show that at the bottom of his feet. There is that. Get rid of some of this rough sketch so you can see it a little better. And there would be a very interesting relationship between this gator and the zombie himself, because the gator, you know, he needs meat. He or she is out there, you know, wanting food and things like that. And the zombie, maybe she's tried to take a chomp out of him and he tastes horrible. That would be really funny. So yeah, I think it's about time I put my stamp on this, and it's about a few minutes until I normally knock off. So we timed this well. That's a good character builder. Normally I would get 2 or 3 done, but I spent color on him, so it works okay. And there's my dog being all cute. There we go. So what I'll do now is go underneath everybody and create a line, so I can give them a line to stand on, and I'll move it up to the alligator's stance, and then move everybody else up to match. This is how I get the height proper. And then I will erase a little bit, make it clean, you know, make it a little clean. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. So there you have it. And this time I'll add a little bit of embellishment around the outside, maybe a little bit of that unhealthy greenish color, just to, because I put this stuff up on Instagram as well. We'll give it a nice soft and now I can play with that a little bit. And this is just for me for fun. That's all it is. Just play with the color and the luminosity and whatnot. Yeah, maybe it could warm. That works. Yeah, that works. Okay. Pop this guy back over a little bit. He's running away. Now, Vinny has a name. The driver doesn't have a name yet. Still figuring out his name. Same thing with the gator. So, this is a little bit bigger. All right. So we'll wrap that tonight. Next week, I'm going to be going into more detail on Mr. Lurkin, so I'm going to actually be focused back more on the zombie himself, and see where he takes me. Like I said, I like his design. I'll show you what he looks like again. Yeah, he's up here on the upper left. It's okay. It's generally a good start, but there's some parts of him that are kind of wonky, and all character designers have wonky characters. It's like, that's why you develop them. That's why you keep sketching them. That's why you keep working on them until it's presentable. So we're going to work on him 100% next time. So be sure and like the video and subscribe, and be sure you share with your friends. And I'm just trying to grow the channel and get this out there and have some fun with it and help other people have fun with it too. So, all right. I hope you guys are doing great. Be sure and stay tuned next Thursday at 8 p.m. for my next session. And you can always go to my website to check out more of my work. That's tkylegentry.com. It's on my YouTube channel. It should be on the right when you go to my channel itself, or you can look underneath this video in the description. There will be links, and also to my store where you can buy books of my work and prints of my work that I have series of. So check all those out, and thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it, and I will catch you next week. Peace out. God bless.